his friend decided they were going to buy it with themselves and then rent it back to us for about $5,000 a month, and we weren't able to do that. So they tried to change it into a house. So they put jacuzzi tubs in, they took all the carpeting up, they done everything. But after a year, they called us back because that is our church. So what we're in trying to do now is to raise funds to buy the church back from them, to turn it out from a house back into a church. My vision is to be able to have a daycare. It's already equipped for that to happen, and the daycare would support all of our financial needs that we would have going on in the ministry. We have a low-income church family. 90% of our family don't work, and we are looking forward to giving them employment by having the daycare. They can work in the daycare. We're also going to start a home health center. All the people that work at our church and come to the church, they work as home health aides. So if we had our own service, then that would bring more income to our church. Not only do we want to open up a daycare, but we want to start our mentoring programs. We've already applied for some grants, but we're looking for funds that we can do things with children and also with black men that have really don't know how to be a family, and when things get tough, they leave their families. I'm a recipient of that. My father didn't stay with my mom, but I vowed that I would do all I could to help other families.
God bless you. Man, yeah. You want some water?
You
Take
ask
some
more
water.
questions, but if you ask questions, can we kind of go into that like y'all are news people? You could ask questions too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to.
You want me to get into the story?
A little bit, but in a minute. You mentioned that you have some grants you've applied for. Can you get in there that you are a nonprofit?
Yes.
And that you have certifications of 501c, and so donors
Yes.
will be able to deduct yada yada.
I got it.
You ready? Okay. Am I asking a question, or are you going
No,
for
go
it?
ahead.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
And also, Stu, we have our 501c that whoever donates to our church is tax deductible. We're reaching out to people all over the world to try to make this happen.
Okay. Now, what do you want to see happen? You want to see the church reconstructed. The story. Where do we start the story? Your story that you told me that you haven't put on here yet, about having found Jesus and how you resisted finding Jesus, might resonate with some people.
Mm-hmm.
We want to keep it, kind of condensed.
So you want me to tell when I first went to the Army?
Yeah, that it hasn't always been easy for you. Kind of the idea that I was talking about, where you didn't go looking for Jesus, but he came finding you.
I'll tell my whole story to the end, like I did in that book.
Ready to go?
And then you can edit it in.
Okay.
Like that.
All right. You want a question, or you want to just go?
Let me see how I'm doing this. I'll just go.
Okay. And you're on, Mr. Llewellyn.
My name is Anthony Llewellyn, and I am a pastor in St. Louis, Missouri. I live at St. Louis RV Park, and I want to tell you a little bit about myself. First of all, we have a 501c, but I ain't always been a pastor. Well, started out and got out of high school. We went over to the recruiters, playing with them, taking drugs, see who could pass the test. Well, 3 of us passed the test, and we ended up going to the Army. Well, I wanted to get out. They wouldn't let me out. I found out I had a baby on the way, so then they wanted to put me out. So I dressed up and changed my attitude and everything, and I did what I needed to do. And I ended up in Fort Hood, Texas. That was my permanent duty station. I went in as a medic because I had my emergency medical technician license, But they told me at that time people get sick in the mess hall. So I started to cook. I cooked for 6 months, and then I went on private duty. They asked a question, who wants to go on private duty? Well, I raised my hand, and I didn't know what it was, but I started flying model airplanes for the next 2.5 years. We know them now as drones. So it was another guy that kept asking me about Jesus. Do I know him and know him? I say, no, I don't know him, because I never had gone to church other than Easter and Christmas. I found out church was open between that time, but I only went Christmas.
I'm sorry about that. I got to stop.
I got it.
You got it?
Yeah, it's going. iPad's good.
Oh, cool enough. Okay, so we're up. We're on.
Keep going.
So yeah, right from there.
And I found out that church was in between Christmas and Easter. So this guy kept asking me to come. In order for me to stop him from asking me, I went ahead and I got 11 other people, and we smoked marijuana, and we drank some beer, and we went to the church. But we went to the wrong church. The church that he was preaching at was down the street, and we went to his home church, and the assistant pastor was preaching. And he preached and preached until, I guess, heaven got the news, and the next thing I knew, all 12 of us was being baptized. After that, we stayed around Texas there, learning how being in the ministry, and we was licensed, and 7 of us today are still pastors, and the others, I don't know where they are, but I believe they are still going to church. Well, after getting out of the Army, I needed a place to stay. So I started to pray, and I asked the Lord. I didn't want to stay with my mother-in-law. Not that she wasn't a good mother-in-law, but they showed me some land, and the land had weeds and grass about 10 feet tall. I went and paid people to cut it down and everything, and everybody in the neighborhood said I was a Jesus freak. I had lost my mind. Well, I was only following the instructions of the Holy Spirit. Ended up, after the land was clear, I found out who owned it. He wanted $1,500. Well, I told him I didn't have any money. But he said, son, if you send me $1, I'll send you the deeds to the property. So I sent him $1, and he sent the deeds. Well, my mama and my brother, they had a bet going on saying I wasn't going to get a house. And they only would believe it when they saw the lumber being unloaded off the truck. Well, I went to the FHA office to apply for a loan. I didn't qualify for an FHA loan. I didn't qualify for a VA loan. But I asked the lady, would she send the papers in anyway? And she kind of humored me, and she put them in the envelope, and I mailed them off. And 30 days later, my mama was calling me, and I thought my grandmother had passed. And she said, Tony, they're unloading the lumber. And so that meant I had the loan, but I didn't know the joke. I said, what? She said, they're unloading the lumber. You need to come and sign the money in the bank. So I came and I signed the money in the bank, but I needed $3,500 to close. Didn't have but $500, but I needed $35. So the Lord said, go across the street to the bank, First National. I said, I can't go because when I left, not only did I smoke weed and doing things I shouldn't have done, I was writing hot checks. So I get locked up if I go over there. So I was obedient to the Spirit, and I went anyway. He was a young man about 27 years old. He waved his hand. I went to his desk, and we filled out the papers, and he added another $1,500. Say I may need some drapes, and my wife may want to change this and that, and so he gave me $5,000 cash. And the first payment was $90-something, and my mom went to pay the payment. They couldn't find the loan. The young man didn't work at the bank. I guess that was an angel. The Bible always talks about beware of strangers. They may be angels unaware. So these 3 guys I met may be angels. Well, after getting the house built, I started going to our little community church. And it was a school about 100 yards away. God gave me a vision of building a church. So I drew up the plans. I took our light bill money and had the plans drew up. And everybody say we couldn't do it because people are on fixed income. I say, well, if it's fixed, we can do it. And we built a church, and we added on to the church a school, built it all the way to a school. Now the vision was to have a daycare right there at that school, where the people going from Marianna to Forest City, they could just drop their kids off, and there would be income for the church. So they built the church. I didn't get a chance to preach in the church until 5 years later. I ended up moving to St. Louis. Got here and I started a church in '93. Well, after starting the church, we had started in my basement with 5 members. We stayed in there 5 months. We went to a storefront, what they call a storefront church. We stayed there for 4 months, and as a baby, 9 months. 9 months, we bought a church. Well, the church took a second, and we put, I think, $3,000 down or something like that. And some of the ministers in the neighborhood was telling me, saying, well, son, you don't need to do that. That's too much. The people are going to let that go, and they're going to do this. You're going to need light bulbs, and you're going to need trash cans and trash bags. I said, well, if that's all I need, I could bring that from home. So we got the church and got $3,600 back at closing. And the church grew. And we bought the building next door that was adjacent to the parking lot. Well, we had an infant center at the bottom. I lived at the top. And at the other church, we had about 75 children going over there in the basement. Well, in 2001, a storm came on us in Marianna, in my hometown. My mom was going to pick up a lady from where she worked to take her to the drugstore. And as she sit in the driveway waiting on her to come out, a storm came up on one part of the street, blew a tree down on her car, and killed her. Well, that kind of took me for a loop, so I went home. And as I was home taking care of all the business for a couple of years, they lost the church. People, I guess, embezzled the money and stopped paying the taxes and all of that, IRS, and they closed the church down. Well, 2 years later, a group of people got together and they asked me to come back to help them to start. And that's how we got to the other church, and we were there for a year. And we got put out because the realtor wanted all of the commission, and we weren't able to do it the way that they had it done. So they sold the church to his friend, and his friend was tricked into trying to turn the church into a house, and it didn't work, and it's still in ruins. And what we're in need of is money to get the church back. They want $300,000, but I know if I had the money, I could get it for $250. Without the money alone, probably $275. But it also is daycare ready, and it's in a community where people could really use ministry. We also are going to have our mentoring program there. We're going to have mentoring programs not only for women and children, but for black men as well, teaching them how to love their wives and to stay with their families, even though if something go wrong with a mother and a father, the father still has a responsibility of taking care of their children and making sure they are safe and taken care of. So.
Great.
Then I got here, and I want to go back a little bit to tell you the story that kind of caught these guys' eyes and ears. Well, I was 16, and we integrated high school in 1970 in Marianna, Arkansas. And the first day of school, we were picking up our classes, getting our classes scheduled. And the little girl across the room caught my eye, caught her eye. So happened she was white, and I was black, so we couldn't talk to each other out, so we passed notes. We lived about 4 blocks from each other. So I would sneak out of the window at night, she sneak out of the window at night. We were in love. She got pregnant, and we were going to sneak away, elope, and get married. But before that could happen, her father found out about it, and they came to the town and with ropes and guns, They were going to hang me, but my mama got me out of town to Chicago. I stayed to Chicago for 9 months, and by that time, they had almost burned down all the town because they didn't want to hire blacks in the stores. So they burnt down part of the black community, and I ended up back there, but the FBI and everybody know about what's going on, so it's not just out. They can't just come and lynch me now. But I finished high school. She and I tried to get back together, but I had promised my mama that I wouldn't get us lynched and put out of town and our house burned down. So we didn't see each other anymore. But we still had the love, and her family made her give the baby up for adoption. Well, when I got out of the Army, I looked for the child, and I mean, till my head turned gray. And my mom told me, she said, Tony, if you just stop worrying and trust in the Lord like you say you do, He's going to knock on your door one day. Well, last year, he was 40 years old, and he got in touch with me, and he called my wife, and I told her that I'm not calling that bill collector back. He didn't give a name, he just had some business with me he wanted to discuss. So she called back again. He called back and told her that he wasn't a bill collector. Well, I was telling her, how do you know he's not a bill collector? And I'm going on, and she's talking and I'm talking, and we don't talk at the same time. But I looked at my phone, and I had muted my phone, so she couldn't hear me tell her not to talk, that I'm not calling him. So when I finally unmute my phone, I told her, I said, okay, give me the number. And I called, but it went into his voicemail, and I said, Daniel Cruz, if you're a bill collector, I'm calling back in 10 minutes, and I'm hanging up. Well, I called back in 11 minutes, and he answered the phone, and he said, my name is Daniel Cruz. I was born April 16, 1972. I said, well, you're my son. He said, you're my dad. So we were able to meet. I flew out to Phoenix. My sister paid for my ticket. She and I went out. And the funniest thing, you know how they say on TV, they say, oh, the blacks, they kind of have something like, you're going to act like white people. And I said, what do you mean? She said, you're going to be running in slow motion and stuff and dropping your... I said, no, I'm not going to do that. True enough, I ran in slow motion and I dropped my suitcase. He left. I spotted him in the crowd, and he ran toward me, and we kissed and hugged for about 20 minutes. And let me tell you something else. On the plane, I fell asleep after telling the guy my story. I was sitting by the window. Well, when I woke up, everybody was in their seats looking back saying, oh, praise the Lord, that's a miracle and everything. When I got off the plane and got through hugging him, the whole plane, including stewardess and the pilot, was standing by looking and videoing and taking pictures and everything. And it's just was a miracle that he was able to get in touch with us. So now I have 4 grandchildren, and I already had one by my daughter. And well, I got 2 girls, and one of the oldest has a boy. Now I got 4 grandchildren. And I met God, like I said, in the Army. Well, he went to the Marines, and he met the Lord in the Marines as well. He's a minister, and I guess the apple don't fall too far from the tree even after 40 years. We get along real well. There's an article in the Post-Dispatch, Anthony Llewellyn. Post-Dispatch, Anthony Llewellyn. You can read the whole story. That's all stuff.
Yeah, you're good. Just
Can we cut?
no, you're not going to cut this. We'll cut it out. Take it out.
What, say, can we? You still recording?
Yeah, it's still on.
Can you stop?
Do you want it stopped?
Yeah. Can we start again?
You can start again right now. We can take all this other stuff out.
Okay. Okay.
So just take a breath, and it's, you're doing great. You got me on board.
Okay. After coming back here to St. Louis, I needed to have a job because the church didn't have money to help me to stay. I had stayed with one person 6 months. Their family, the wife and husband wasn't getting along, so I was able to help them get back together. I knew it was time to go when they started telling me my parking spot was moved and they wanted their bed back and they were happy holding hands, and you could hear these sounds down in the basement. So I knew everything, so I moved to another family, and I stayed there for a year. And I knew it was time to leave, but I didn't know where I was going to go. So I told them could I just bag my truck in their driveway. So after backing the truck in the driveway for a night, then it come to me I had my own camper. I went back to Arkansas. I asked the church could they help me to pay for my rental spot. And they said yes, but after the first month, they didn't have money to help me. So I gave Miss Mary, my boss, 84-year-old, my last $180. And she slid it all back to me and said she wanted me to start helping her at the RV park. So that's why I stay here, I work here, and that's how I met Stu, Larry, and Michael. And we're going to do great things from there. Stop it.
Okay. That's excellent.
Man,
That's real good.
I almost cried. I almost couldn't do that.
I just do.
Man,
And I met this guy.
couldn't
I
do
met this
that,
guy
man.
earlier today as he was taking us over to the Arch, and it has been a remarkable, revelatory experience where I have come to better understand that the genuine nature of his sincere interest in making the community and the world a better place for all of us. He's got a vision, and the vision is a challenge. It's a lot of money to get back a church that once was a house of God and is now, well, some other people tried to turn into a house of man. But he he is determined, and with the help of people such as ourselves and others who might listen, I think this is something that really can happen. He does have the 501c. It is definitely a registered nonprofit.
Yes.
And the name of the church again is?
Fruit of the Spirit Ministries.
And if you are interested, you can send a check to Fruit of the Earth,
Fruit of the Spirit
I'm sorry.
Ministries, 900 North Jefferson, St. Louis, Missouri, 63106. Fruit of the Loom is underwear.
I know. And I just fell for it. And it's been I can't tell you in words what has happened here this day. We were going to be leaving this afternoon, and he invited us to stay on and depart in the morning. It was something we were not planning on doing, but as things worked out, his suggestion became our decision. And so here we are, because we can, doing this preparation to present this situation to people who might have an ear, might have a heart, and might connect the two and make a contribution.
Say it again. The address.
The name of our church is Fruit of the Spirit Ministries, 900 North Jefferson, St. Louis, Missouri, 63106. Also, you might want to call me. My number is 314-323-2022. I'm a 24-hour pastor. Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you, Outlast. Man, this is awesome. I've never done this before. It's like being on Oprah.
Yeah, well, good preparation.
I'm on Oprah.
Good preparation. You
Yeah,
know, you
man.
just never know. That one.
And I'm writing a book. The book is The Long-Awaited Knock at the Door. And that's about my son. You know, my mom gave me the prophecy about if I didn't worry that he was going to one day knock on the door. So the prophecy came true. And I'm writing a book. I think I'm 3/4 of the way finished. Also, my son is doing a screenplay. And I'm wondering how that's going to fit all together into a big movie. I know it's some movie people listening to this. Spike Lee and Denzel Washington and what's this guy that write that book?
Which book?
All those books. Golly.
Not Roots.
Alex.
Alex.
Well, I can't think of the name of the man, but he's a great book writer. And I'm going to think of it. Golly, what's the name of that
All right,
book?
we just cut it out.
Tell me the article again about yourself in the newspaper or somewhere.
In the newspaper?
Yeah.
I pretty much told that article.
Well, say it again, just because I might, having watched
can
this, I want to go look it up.
Okay.
So if you say it again, then I
And
will.
then, okay. The article is in St. Louis Post-Dispatch, Anthony Llewellyn, and it's written by Bill McClellan. And after I came back from Phoenix, he met with me and asked a lot of questions, and he ended up with this article. And the article kind of starts out like talking about where I'm from, Anthony New Orleans, from Marianna, small town. The income of the town was like $16,000 back then, and it still is now. And it was late integrating because of factors that people didn't want change. So we integrated in 1970. Also in the article you'll find where my mom prophesied about finding my son, and the phone calls and the visit. And the day that we met was it was the weekend of Super Bowl, last Super Bowl. And we had a reunion in September, Labor Day weekend, and his family came from Phoenix, Arizona, and we had a great time. I'm going to show them some pictures and send to their phone, and maybe they can add it to this video.
Okay. Excellent.
Thank
Good.
you.
Great.
Man, y'all awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're awesome.
The awesome is
That's-
sitting over there, not over here.
See, that's
I got a
what-
question.
Yes.
You know, it's a fantastic story. But how old were you when you had your girlfriend? And
We were 16,
okay, and
10th
what
grade.
what year was that?
1970.
In 1970, there was such prejudice in your town that
Yes.
that they wanted to do you harm.
They wanted to hang me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lynch in 1970.
1970.
And that's where again?
Marianna, Arkansas.
Arkansas. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
89 miles from Little Rock and 50 miles from Memphis.
You've been back there in the years since then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And would you say that you've seen some changes in that community?
No, so far as income, no
Yeah.
changes have been made.
Could you still get lynched there?
You probably couldn't get lynched, but you could get probably killed.
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't hang you. They'd probably just shoot you.
We don't want to go too far in that direction, I don't think. Yeah, really.
Well,
We
I
get
can
those-
edit this. This is, you know,
Yeah, this is conversation.
and what, you know, I think Stu told you we're going to send you all this stuff, and
Mhm.
you know, we
Y'all
might
edit
edit
it.
it down and
Y'all
get
fix
your
it.
approval.
Y'all,
Yeah,
y'all fix
yeah.
it
We're not going to
whatever
ask
way
you to
y'all
do.
want
You
it
don't have to do
it.
anything with it. Just accept.
Whatever y'all feel need to be in there.
Yeah.
Good. I'm
Well,
gonna send you some pictures of my family
family.
and
Okay.
everything.
Well, if you get a congregation picture, that would be good too.
Okay.
Yeah, something that really ties it together. And then, if there's some way, and we don't have to do this now, of course, but if there's some way for somebody to feel a personal connection to your faith, to your church, the prayer list, something that would give people a sense of, like you were talking about, membership, lifetime membership in the church as a contribution, as a sort of
Okay, I can
expression.
add that in now.
okay.
Also, about us having the 501(c), those that will send any donations, we're going to have a plaque on the wall with little gold things with your name on it, with from $10, $25 to $100. You still get, everybody's going to get the same plaque. Just because somebody sent 10,000, we trying to keep it where that everybody kind of feel the same, even if they didn't have but 5. It's going to be a big board of people that donate, but those that send the most money, that don't live or not part of our church and community, they're going to be lifetime members. We will always send you what's going on in our church. You can even inquire about our finances. It's glass. We want you to be able to see that nothing is hidden, that the way that we are going to have this, that even a child, if they have questions about our finances, they can come and look. Nothing is hidden. Make the appointment where you can look, but we want to be able to people feel comfortable in donating, knowing that your money is going to be used for what you sent it for. And this money is strictly for ministries, to buy church vans, to get people to church. Right now I use my Suburban, but we'll be able to get a church van, maybe a daycare van. We have some handicapped people, so we can get a handicapped van. And also back to the church, when they took it and tried to make it into a house, they took away the stair lift, what you call that thing? That you sit on
Handicap.
the handicapped seat that take the people up the stairs. They
Yeah.
took it off the wall and sold it, and even sold some of the pews. So, but I'm 58 years old and I'm still able to work. And we got some men that are ready to help us if we can get the materials and the church. And these three men are going to do a miracle, and we're going to write a story about them as well. God bless you.
Thank you.
Bless
Need
you.
money. Need money now, but you might need materials and other contributions later. But it's all part of the package.
Yeah.
It's all good. Wow.
Once
He's-
we get in the church, if we could just convince a down payment or
Oh, you'll get if this
we
gets
could do
going.
wonders.
You guys. I don't know if you never know.
we could do wonders.
Send us photos of the church,
Uh-huh.
the building.
Well, you might could pull it up on Google.
Zillow. Yeah.
When you call what you call that?
Zillow.
When you
Well,
look
there's
at
Google.
the site,
There's Google
you
Maps.
can look at the street.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Google Maps.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Because that's how I first saw
Okay.
it.
Yeah. Oh really?
It's
Yeah.
a house and a church.
Do you want to say to this group, right now, that if you're in the neighborhood, do you know the address?
I think it's 3460. I think.
Yeah. Well,
I may be wrong.
What
Well,
street?
pick a block.
Jameson.
Pick a block, like 3400 or 3600.
I'm going to try it. 3460 address.
All right, go for it.
If you like to go by to look at the church or Google it, it's at 3460 Jameson. It has a house that's next door that it's a 4-bedroom. The vision for that is to turn it into a homeless shelter. Not necessarily a homeless shelter, but take people off 4 families at a time off the street and help them to get on their feet.
Yeah.
That's part of the vision for that.
Mm.
Also, we're going to have midnight aerobics where people can come and do exercise and all during the night because we know our kids need to exercise and as well as adults. Also, in the basement, we want to have what you call like a mall. It's not a mall, but it's where you can come get free clothes and shop and get food. And we're going to have a food court, just like in the mall. Amen.
Amen.
Already in that church, man. I wish y'all could see the church.
Oh, you start envisioning it.
Yeah.
Start visualize what you have
see
the
it
you have
all.
the power of the vision. I have the sense. If you can see it, it can be it. And you've done that
I got
before.
I got it. It's just like the people at the church said, Pastor, you got the vision and everything. It's got to. So they registered, but it has to come
Yeah.
because they don't see what I see. They say they can see it, they can taste it, but you got to get out and help me to get it.
Yeah.
You know?
And I listening to your conversation today with the broker, the banker.
Yeah.
And I very much heard you say you're not in this because you like us. It's all about making some money off of this
Mm-hmm.
investment. I don't know how fast we can put anything together, how quickly this will happen. It'll be up to the Lord to figure that out. But
You know what? That church ain't going nowhere. It's going to stay there waiting on us because that's just the way it was. And out of all the people leaving the realtor, she tried to scare me. We got people in line to look at it.
yeah,
Well,
show
go
me
ahead.
show me the line. Yeah,
It ain't no line,
How far away is it from here?
15 minutes.
What time are we leaving tomorrow?
Well, probably early 6,
I know,
7.
that early.
Yeah, I don't know.
I need some photos of the building,
Okay.
because when you make your not plea, but when you ask for help,
Y'all ready to go?
it really it's
Y'all ready to go take pictures?
it's dark now.
We got,
Yeah,
what you call it?
yeah, I'm ready. I need some pictures
Um,
because when it's your vision, but
Yes.
you know the building, you know the site, and it becomes concrete when we
Well, it's
Yeah.
light over there. We can go now. Take pictures outside. And we probably
Right,
couldn't
yeah.
get the realtor. Cause
I'm
y'all-
fine. How do you feel?
Well, I was just looking at it getting late.
Yeah.
I'm okay. It's just,
Well, we drive over there,
yeah.
take the pictures, and come right back. And
All
it'll
right.
be 40 minutes.
If you need to get rest or whatever, that's
Yeah.
fine. I'll go.
All right. Hey, if you're good with that.
And if you got anybody in your congregation that works with computers,
Mhm.
if you have a website,
We don't have one, and
I know, but
we got to try to get it set up. Yeah,
just
website.
if anybody in your group, in your
Yeah, I'm
family,
sure somebody can do
sure,
that.
somebody knows
Yeah.
how to do that because that's everything's on the internet now.
And I know it's late, but is there somebody who could meet you over there? Like maybe somebody else who could be talking to us about what's going on and what might be possible, or is this just really too late? It's okay either way. I mean,
No, because most of the people that could do that, they kind of live. It would take
Yeah.
them some time to come from North County.
better not then. Okay. Well, if you're willing to do that without me, I'm happy to stay here and let you pick it up and take it from here.
All right.
We'll
Thank
go
you.
and take some pictures of the house and
Yeah.
church. Let me go get the truck.
All right.
Give me the phone there.
Takes the phone there.